the wanderer discovered a strange stone. He used his hand to wipe away the dirt on the surface. The smooth texture felt just like gold. He quickly looked towards his newly acquainted companion. Big Head hesitated for a moment, but eventually decided to share his discovery.
Hey! Come look at this!
Big Head walked over and looked at the stone. It also looked like gold. As the saying goes, real gold fears no fire. Big Head then took out a lighter to test the material of the stone.
If it burns black, it ain't gold.
After passing the lighter test without any change, both of them looked at each other with astonishment.
That's gold.
They proceeded to use tools and started manipulating the stone. The more they dug, the bigger the gold piece became. They dug for a long time and still couldn't see the bottom. Big Head suggested using brute force to move it, but even with all their strength, they couldn't budge it. They then found a rope and planned to use a car to pull the gold out. However, the rope couldn't withstand the force. Frustrated, Big Head got out of the car. With no other options, they continued digging. They lost track of time, and the sun was about to set. Despite their experienced intuition, Big Head told the protagonist to go find some firewood. They would light a bonfire at night, so the wolves in the desert wouldn't dare to approach. Night fell, and they both shouted with excitement after lighting the bonfire. They didn't expect to find such a large gold mine in the desert. If they obtained it, they would become instantly rich. But how to transport the gold became the only problem. They planned for one person to go find a bulldozer while the other stayed to guard the gold. It would take 2 days to drive to the town, another day to find the bulldozer, and another 2 days to drive back. Roughly estimating, it would take at least 5 days. During these 5 days, the person guarding the gold would be fighting alone in the desert. Both of them wanted to stay and guard the gold. Big Head felt that he had survival experience in the wilderness. He was concerned that the protagonist would waste water, making it hard for him to survive alone. However, Big Head didn't actually want to keep the gold to himself, so he suggested that the protagonist go find the bulldozer, but the protagonist insisted on staying.
They're gonna stay with the gold.
Big Head didn't say anything else and left as planned. The next day, he left as much food as possible for the protagonist and gave him the only satellite phone they had.
By the time I get back, we'll be rich as all hell.
After that, he left to find the bulldozer. Under the scorching sun, the protagonist buried the gold again and set up a small tent. He found dry wood and started his wilderness survival. Would Big Head come back as agreed? Both of them discovered a huge piece of gold in the desert. They split up, with one staying to guard the gold while the other went to the town, which was a 2-day journey, to find a bulldozer. Under the scorching sun, the protagonist sat in the rudimentary tent. Looking at the gold in front of him, he believed that waiting a little longer would be worth it, but waiting in the desert was particularly agonizing. During the day, the fierce wind blew, and he had to search for dry wood to use for warmth at night and to deter the nearby wolves. One day, he suddenly discovered the wreckage of an airplane. He had a clever idea and started dismantling parts of the plane. With these parts, he built a decent tent. The remaining food became less and less, so the protagonist decided to rely on sleep to endure. He glanced at the gold and lay down in the tent to sleep. However, he woke up with a sunburned forehead. Upon waking up, he wondered if it was all worth it to stay. Maybe he should try to take a piece down. With his efforts, he smashed down a large piece of gold. He thought that having such a big piece of gold was already enough, and it wasn't worth risking his life. But then, his satellite phone rang.
You had something like this land in your lap before?
No.
Want to risk losing it? Just stay with the gold. I'll be there as soon as I can. I'll have more than just a chunk. I'll have it all.
After persevering for another day, he ran out of food completely. He could only use water to fill his stomach. He spotted a white snake not far away, but unfortunately, he couldn't catch it and ended up wasting a lot of water. Now, every drop of water was precious, and not a single drop could be wasted. Later, the protagonist came to the cockpit and discovered a figure approaching him. He hurriedly hid inside the cockpit, not wanting anyone to know he was there. However, the woman had already noticed everything.
Well, I think you're hiding something.
You're a lying little swine. I think you came through here with someone and hatched a wee plan. A bunch of greedy little pigs. You think you can come out here and take what isn't yours? No, you people are a virus. And you want me to leave. Well, fuck you, city boy! Now what are
The woman gave up, and to avoid attracting wolves with her corpse, the protagonist decided to burn her body. With his face already sunburned beyond recognition, his once kind heart had driven him to kill the woman out of greed for the gold. The next day, the protagonist received another call from Big Head, who told him to wait a few more days. Suddenly, a car sped towards him. Maybe if he took the gold and intercepted the car at this moment, he would have the upper hand, but he chose not to and hid behind the tent, afraid of being discovered by the car. Shortly after the car left, a strong sandstorm hit. The protagonist's tent couldn't withstand the fierce wind and collapsed, burying him in the sand. When he woke up again, he found a branch had pierced through his stomach. The surroundings were a mess, and the protagonist, who hadn't eaten for a long time, used all his strength to crawl towards the location of the gold. When he woke up again, he saw the dead woman. The woman held a crossbow and aimed it at the barely alive protagonist. The protagonist, starving, couldn't tell whether it was reality or an illusion. But he would always remember the gold. At this moment, the satellite phone rang again. However, Big Head still hadn't shown up. Suddenly, the woman's voice sounded again. She said there was a water hole not far away and that she could take him there if he needed it.
No.
Listen, there's a water hole. I can walk you there.
You'll die if you don't.
Go!
So you didn't see me, sister?
After the woman left, she set fire to his surroundings. Wolves kept coming closer and closer, attacking him one after another, but now, he was too weak to fight back, and shouting angrily was his only option. Not far away, someone was observing everything quietly with a telescope. It wasn't until this moment that the protagonist realized what had happened, but it was too late. Poor him, betrayed by Big Head, he lost his life in vain for the gold. Before his death, he suffered so much and, in the end, it was all for nothing. As the sky gradually darkened, Big Head drove the bulldozer towards the gold. Now, all the gold belonged to him, all of it.